upon our. We want to ask Allah this evening to give us and grant us the clarity of thoughts so that we can be able to connect with each other through positive thinking. And also we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us stability of our emotions so that whatever comes out from my heart will also find a place in your heart. And I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the patience so that we can be able to concentrate from the beginning of this talk till the end, so that we can benefit from whatever will be shared this evening maximally. Today, our topic of discussion is robbers of a happy marriage. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole essence of the marriage institution is for people to be happy. The whole idea of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala setting up a marriage institution was to provide a platform where a man and a woman will come together to live happily throughout their lives. And I believe that is what each and every one of us expects when we get into the institution of marriage. But sometimes, due to unavoidable circumstances, even if you want to work very hard to make sure your marriage is a happy one, there are instances, there are situations, there are circumstances that leads to our marriages becoming unhappy. Statistics that are available today are showing so many people are in marriage for one reason or another, but very few are seriously satisfied with their marriages. Les Brown poses a question sometimes and says, are we living together or are we dying together? That is saying, are we together, are we happily together, or are we tolerating each other? I want to believe that all of us want to be happy together. Brothers and sisters, the meaning of marriage is making marriage meaningful. Marriage, brother and sister, is a platform of aspiration. Is a platform where people believe by getting together they'll be better. Marriage, my brother and my sister, is a cornerstone of an enriching relationship that is meant to nourish a man and a woman to live a happy and a healthy life. Marriage is the platform of inspiration, and that inspiration in this relationship is most of the time referred as love. Minus love, there is no way marriage could be regarded as a success. Marriage, ladies and gentlemen, is a key of positive association. Marriage, brothers and sisters, is a pathway to growth. You begin by being 2, then you add a child and you are 3, and another one you are 4, and it continues like that. It is where people learn to grow together. Marriage is a platform of empowerment where you start getting titles of being called a husband or a wife of so and so, where you're being called a mother or a father of so and so. In short, marriage is a very beautiful institution if it is protected with affection, appreciation, and with proper subjection of knowing what is it that you are expecting to achieve in this particular relationship. If we don't protect the nucleus of marriage, if we don't protect the spectrum of marriage, if we don't protect the beauty of marriage, then that marriage, instead of giving us happiness, it makes our lives very sad. Now, what are the robbers of marriage? Brothers and a sister, I will use the statement robbers of a happy marriage to outline those things that I personally refer to be the reason why people don't enjoy their marriage to the fullest. By the way, before I forget, remember this as I continue discussing and interacting with you. The responsibility of establishing a happy marriage lies on two people, the husband and the wife. If these two people decide that they are going to make their marriage a happy one, then marriage will be a happy marriage. But if any of these two people decides to frustrate the institution, then it becomes difficult for one person to afford the struggle of making a marriage a success. So one very strong robber of a happy marriage is regrets, or for regrets. What do I mean by regrets? Regrets mean if after marriage you allow your thoughts to make you accept that the choice you made was not a right choice. If you will allow your thinking pattern, if you will allow your mind to conceive the notion that what you have gotten into as a relationship is not really what you were expecting or what you wanted or what you desired. You know, sometimes even if you were lovers prior to marriage, the true love comes after the marriage, because that's when the two of you begins to reveal your genuine identity. Therefore, if by any chance any little thing happen and then you start regretting that union, then that's when, even if you were happy, the happiness will vanish. So what is the advice here? The advice here is, no matter the circumstances, if you get into the marriage institution, learn to make it a success. Use what you have to get what you want. This is one thing that you and me must understand. There is no perfect husband and there is no perfect wife. It's the decision that the two of you will make that will make the two of you have a perfect relationship. So don't ever reach that level where you start regretting that the man you married is not perfect or the woman you married is not perfect. There are no angels when it comes to a husband and a wife. We are all human beings. And kullu ibn Adam khata. Kila mwanadamu ana udhaifu wake. So we need to appreciate the fact that we are now married, we are going to live together, therefore we must figure out how we can overcome our limitations. If we start regretting, then we start being sad in that particular relationship. Number 2, and that is O on the word robber, the robber of a happy marriage is when we refuse to open up. When we decide that we will keep what we have with us to ourselves only. That is to say, when we refuse to communicate, no matter how small, no matter how atomic the thought that is in your mind and the feeling that in your heart, you must learn to open up. You must learn to express yourself. You must learn to say what you think and how you feel with one another. Because by opening up your heart, by opening up your mind, that is the moment when the two of you will be able to understand each other. If you imagine that the other person will figure it out themselves through assumption, then that person might assume a wrong notion. To avoid any assumption, it's always good to open up to each other. Minus opening up, you are creating an avenue of doubts. And if there is anything that kills positive relationship, if there is anything that kills human aspiration, if there is anything that kills human growth and development, it is this thing that is called doubt. That means I doubt you, you doubt me. That means I don't tell you how I feel and you don't tell me how you feel. That means you don't express yourself and I don't express myself. And therefore you just, guess and I just guess. And at the end of the day, all the guesses become wrong guesses and we misunderstand each other. B, the robber of a happy marriage is when when we only focus on the bad. On the bad. B-A-D. Believe me, human psychology says the day you stop looking at things, the way you look at them, the things you look at will also change. If you adopt a negative way of looking at whatever your spouse, your partner, your husband, your wife is doing, then that acidity in that relationship will start developing. But if you are that person who is always positive about what the other person shows you, tells you, reveals to you, then that gives you positive psychology. And then you are able to see only the beauty of that relationship. And that is very, very important. That you become a person who sees the bottle half full and not half empty. You become that person who is always giving an excuse to whatever bad behavior that comes from either of you, giving a room of correction. That way, you will remain a happy person in that marriage. So you need to stop, no matter the circumstance, to be that person who is only looking at what is bad and you don't see anything good on each other. Remember, hakuna usiku usiopambaukiwa na mchana. Amna. Na ni wakati ule usiku unakuwa mzito, ndio kupambauka kunakuja. Na ni pale ambapo mwanadamu anahisi kwamba mambo yamekuwa magumu, hapo ndio mambo yanaweza kurekebishika. That's the time when we can solve our problems and make our relationship a beautiful relationship. The next robber, that is the next B, is when we use the stones we throw to each other to build walls instead of building bridges. You know, there is no marriage that has no challenges. Every relationship has a challenge of its own kind. Not only in marriage, even in parenting, even in your dad and mother and parents and children's relationship. There are moments when things become bumpy. Therefore, when the things become bumpy, when those stones are being thrown at each other, use those stones to build bridges so that you make the connection easier than building walls where you will even create a bigger distance from one another. There is no way you can influence each other as a husband and a wife if there is no intimacy, if there is no closeness, if there is no togetherness. So no matter how rough the road is, always learn to build bridges. Don't erect walls that will keep the two of you separated in one way or the other. When you build the bridges, it will be easy for any one of you to cross towards the other. But when you build a wall, the wall might be too tall even to jump over, because you will be using every stone to make the height of the wall taller and taller every day. And before you realize, the person who was very close to you is now very far from you. And that's not very healthy when it comes to marriage relationship. E on the word robber. When you fail to empower yourself and then empower each other, taking things for granted, that is to say, you are no longer reading any romantic book because now you're married. Before you were married, you were busy looking for poems, you were busy looking for quotes, you were busy looking for romantic statements to send to each other. But the moment you get married, you feel, now I have arrived at my destination. This is what I wanted. I got it. Now I'm going to stay here. I'm very comfortable. Don't get too comfortable. Keep empowering yourself so that you have the stronger ability to impact on one another. Keep exchanging those romantic quotes, those romantic poems, those romantic names, those romantic sentences, so that at the end of the day, you revive the emotional well-being of one another and of each other. The R, the robber of a happy marriage, is when people resist change, and change is inevitable. It will never be the same throughout. It won't. Everything has a season and has a reason. And therefore, we need to appreciate the fact that the first year of marriage will be different from the 5th year of marriage. The 5th year of marriage will be different from the 10th year of marriage. The marriage that had no baby is a different marriage than the marriage that now has a baby, that now has a child, now has another child, now that has a grandchild. So it's very important to understand, as we live together, there will be physical changes, there will be social changes, there will be emotional changes. But then what do you do? At every situation, you need to have adaptive mechanism, so that every time is a different time and every time is a new time. Every time has its own attraction, every time has its own seduction, every time has its own satisfaction, so that you don't insist on things remaining constant. The one, life is about growth. If you want to grow in that relationship, then get busy to know, so that you don't go low. You must have something beautiful to show, otherwise the wind will blow and that life will never grow and you will always remain low. So it's very important to allow that relationship to glow, to become brighter and brighter every day. My dear sister and a brother, a robber of marriage, or the robbers of a happy marriage, is when people refuse to understand the spiritual inclination of marriage. It is when we refuse to get satisfied with the little that we have and get busy comparing what we have with what other people have. Remember, every individual in this world is unique, and every marriage is unique, and every marriage has its own strong strengths and its own weaknesses. In fact, it is very, very dangerous for one to compare their marriage with another marriage, because it is not the same. It's always very different. There are 5 C's which are referred as social metastasizing cancers. These 5 C's are the C of comparing, the C of criticizing, the C of condemning, the C of contradicting, and the C of... Let me take them again so that I can be able to remember the 5 of them. C number 1, compare. C number 2, criticize. C number 3, condemn. C number 4, what do we call? Compare, condemn, criticize, okay, contradict, and then what we call refusing to collect what is around you to make the best out of it. These are 5 C's that are regarded as social metastasizing C's. You need to avoid them in your marriage. Brother and sister in life, everything, if you want it to succeed, including the marriage, you must learn to let go. You sacrifice you are today for what is good tomorrow. You must give up what you love today for that which you need to make tomorrow better than yesterday. So learn to sacrifice sometimes for your own selfish desire, to make sure the desire that is collective between you and your partner, between you and your spouse, is given more consideration. And that is why selfishness is a great robber over marriage. If you are always using the first pronoun, that is I, first singular pronoun, is the robber, the greatest robber. I is about me only. you must adapt the plural pronoun, that is the we, the we, the we, because together the husband and wife, if they sacrifice their self-interest for the interest of that marriage institution, that marriage becomes very beautiful. My dear brother and sister, the robbers of marriage is when you are not sure, optimistic about your relationship. Believe in you, believe in your wife, believe in your husband, because what the mind can conceive and the heart believes, you will always achieve. Create a very strong belief system that no matter what is happening today, it is one day going to change and become better. What happened yesterday, that has gone. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is mystery. But today is a gift. That is why in English we call it present tense. Use what you have now. Use the power of now to make things work for tomorrow to be better than yesterday. If you are always referring to yesterday, you will never enjoy your today. And if you don't enjoy your today, you will never reach your tomorrow. Remember, the past is not a place of residence. The past is a place for reference. So don't live in the past. Whatever happens in that relationship, learn to forgive. They say in another definition I read somewhere in a book, marriage is a relationship of two forgivers. Let me take it again. Marriage is a relationship of two forgivers. People who are always ready to forgive each other. My brother, my sister, the robbers of marriage is when we decide to lose focus on each other. There is nothing more strong in making a marriage relationship a good one than focusing on one another, each other interest, being there for one another, being there for each other. The day you stop noticing your husband, or the day you stop noticing your wife, that is when trouble begins. That is when you start destroying that beautiful, that great, that sweet relationship. But if you are every time noticing each other, not only in terms of looking at each other with physical eyes, but feeling one another with the inner part of your heart and your soul. Because one thing we need to appreciate is marriage is not a physical relationship alone. There is a golden triangle of marriage. And this golden triangle of marriage is we think each other every time. That is the brain. We feel one another every time we are together. That is the heart. And we touch each other every other time. And that is the body. So it is the thinking, the feeling, and the acting. That is the golden triangle of marriage. Again, remember, the robbers of marriage is when you fail to appreciate each other. The day you start looking down upon each other. The day you start losing feelings for one another. The day you stop looking at that handsome man you married as handsome, and now you are seeing him as an ugly man. The day you start looking at your wife, not as the beautiful lady you married, but now an ugly one. Now that's when trouble begins. But if you're able to sustain that appreciation, okay, with time the looks will change. But you need to appreciate that change has taken place when you are together. And that's the beauty of the whole relationship, that you started when you are both strong and good looking, and as you climb the ladder of life, you know, a gray hair is appearing, a wrinkle is appearing each other, and you make fun of it, how great it was when both of you were 18 and 19 and 20, and now the two of you are 40 and 45. Now you appreciate that, look, we've come a long way. We've gone through so many changes. That appreciation makes you smile at each other more often than frowning at each other regularly. Again, the robbers of marriage is when you are not honest, when you are not edge of being honest. Being honest means you are not accepting the truth, the fact about that relationship, the facts about life, the facts about how much you care for each other, how much you love one another, how much you appreciate each other, how much you desire one another, how much you want each other for life. Now, when that honesty, that honesty level starts dropping, now the closeness, the affection, the connection, the patience all disappears. Again, remember, the robbers of a happy marriage comes when you refuse to become adaptable. Adaptable ni kwamba wewe, when things are good, you are happy together. And when things are bad, you share that moment of sad feelings, of sadness. That means you adapt to circumstances. When you are healthy together, you love each other. And when one of you becomes sick, you still stick to one another. When the economy is good, you are together with each other. And when the economy is down, you are much stronger and closer, consoling each other and supporting each other so that you can get back to your feet. That means you adapt. You are flexible. When there is good time, you're together. And when there is bad time, you are together. But if you are not willing to adapt, you only want things to be good only, and when things get bad, you start complaining, and you start, being resentful. Before you realize, you become a robber of your own happiness, my dear brother and sister. There is one thing, and this is the P, the pride. The pride that at the end of the day, you feel like you cannot be patient. Okay? Why? You can't apologize. Even when you know you're wrong. Even when you know you're the one who made a mistake. But you say, if I apologize as a man, I will look weak. If I apologize as a wife, I will make this man believe I can't do without him. Now that ego need to be cracked. That ego need to be cracked. There is no moment that is more beautiful in a marriage when both of you become submissive to each other. Humility, humbleness, simplicity, the fact that you respect each other and you are willing to say sorry to one another. The golden statement of marriage is called, I am sorry. I am sorry. Please forgive me that yesterday I wasn't able to put a smile on your face. Sorry for hurting you. That is one thing that we must learn to do. Minus that, if we adopt and embrace and wear the pattern and the thinking of pridefulness, and we don't want to say sorry to each other, then we rob ourselves that happiness. Believe me. And if you don't agree with me, try it. Wake up in the morning and for no reason tell your husband or your wife. A happy marriage, the next P, is when we are always after perfection and we reject that. Look, everybody can make a mistake. Kila mtu anaweza kukosa. na sio kila wakati maisha yatakupa kile unachotaka, na sio kila wakati utakuwa ni mwenye kuwa na furaha. You have to accept that in human life there is nothing called perfection. In human life, what is there is improvement. We can always become better and better people as we strive to change our weaknesses to make them our strength. Therefore, perfection is with the angels and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perfection is not with us as human beings. We are all able to hurt each other, and therefore after hurting each other, we should be able to appreciate that partnership is about us. And if one of us is sad, then the other one will also not be happy. Therefore, it's very important to appreciate that and then forgive each other, okay? And mend your ways and maintain that improvement. Yesterday must be better, today must be better than yesterday, and tomorrow must be greater than today. There has to change the way the marriage was in the first year and the fifth year. There has to be an improvement. It has to be, because now we have learned to live with each other. Now we have understood each other. Now we are used to one another, and therefore we can accommodate each other even when there is 1, 2 or 3 weaknesses. Brother and sister, marriage is robbed of its happiness when you refuse to yearn for more. What do I mean by yearning for more? When you become too comfortable, alhamdulillah, I am now married, and that's it. Alhamdulillah, I'm now married and I have a child. I'm safe, alhamdulillah. No, marriage is more than just getting a baby. Marriage is more than just being in bed. Marriage has a spiritual angle. Marriage has a social angle. Marriage has an economic angle. Marriage has a personal angle. You got to get the best out of that relationship. My dear brother and sister, life is short. Learn to live very well. Never survive. And this life of marriage is also meant to be lived. Don't survive. Don't just be there for the sake of being there. Being there and work towards making this connection, this relationship, the best it can ever be. And believe me, it is possible, because everything is within our abilities. It takes our mentality plus our abilities to make every possibilities. Every possibility comes from the mentality and the ability. Then you get all the possibility. Nothing is difficult. Nothing is impossible. If you are out to make it work, it will work. So don't say, I wasn't lucky, therefore this is the wife of God and this is the husband of God. I think I have to live with it. I have to learn to live with it. No, you don't learn to live with it. You work to improve it. You work to make it better. You work to make it stronger. It is possible. We human beings, we are made of blood and flesh, not stones and iron. We are softwares, and every software could be changed. And know this, my friend, it is the software that drives the hardware. It is the feelings that finally activates the acting, and the acting that creates the atmosphere that will make the two of you happy, greater, and enjoy your stay together without any problem. My brother and my sister, the robbers of marriage is when people refuse to mature. When people refuse to mature, that is to say, you are always thinking like that naive girl, naive boy, when you got into that relationship. But now look, you're now not only a wife, you're also a mother. You are not just a mother, you are a grandmother maybe. Okay? Therefore, that responsibility has to grow. You have to get out of that inner sphere of the marriage and create the second level, and the third level, and the fourth level, and the fifth level, and the spiral of happy living continues moving until you see each other off to the next world, and you go and wait for one another in paradise. It doesn't stop at one nuclear point. It is a spiral, it's a network, it's a web of happy living. Therefore, you must mature, understand that, okay, this is how we were when we got married the first year, but now we have a responsibility of paying school fees. Okay, we have moved into a bigger house. Before we were paying rent of 10,000, now we are paying 20. Our boy has started going to preschool or primary school, secondary school. We have to cut down our outings. We have to cut down on this. We have to cut down on that. We mature. My husband had a good job when we got married, but then the contract ended. Now he is in a lower job. We can't live the way we lived when he was at this position. My wife was like this when we got married, but she's given birth. Now it's not the same. You have to appreciate and love God and say, yeah, it's part of the marriage. So it's very important to learn to live in a mature way. Mature spiritually, mature socially, mature economically, and mature at the personal level, so that you continue sustaining that goodwill that existed between the two of you when you just got married. The rubber of marriage comes when you stop being affectionate. You stop being adorable. What do I mean by this? You know, some of us, the moment we get married, we say, okay, now we are married, there is no need to put lipstick again. Now we are married, there is no need to impress each other again. Now I am married, I won't go to the salon again. Now I am married, I won't trim my beards again. Now I am married, I won't spray a nice perfume again. And therefore you start being appealing. Mus'ab radhiallahu anhu was always making himself up for the wife. And when he was asked, he says, subhanallah, if she's busy every day combing her hair and spraying nice aromatic, smell all over her, who am I not to do the same? So you go to struggle. You see, you cannot help growing old, but you don't have to be old. Can I take that one again? You cannot help growing old, but you don't have to be old. You must always keep fit. You must always keep fit. Don't allow yourself to put on too much weight until you now become somebody complete different from the person that your husband married. Don't allow that tummy to grow so much, make you look very different from the way you were when you married your wife. Learn to keep up with that appearance that will make each other, admire you day in, day out. Be adorable and show each other affectionately. I always tell people this story, that I had a friend of mine who, after getting married, things started changing. No more outings, no more I love you, no more I care for you, no more you look good, you smell nice, no more. And the wife came to complain to me, and when I asked him, my friend, what's the problem? What has gone wrong? Ananiambia, rafiki yangu, kweni samaki ukisha kumvua alafu kamtia kikapuni, atakuwa anahitaji chambo tena? Yes, my friend, that's a very wrong thinking. It's about you becoming different and different every day, so that you can continue loving and caring for each other and appreciating one another. My dear brother and sister, a robber of marriage is when you refuse to become reliable. You know that stage where you decide to go two different ways. You are not dependent on each other. I'm working, you're working. You are earning, I am earning. I can come and eat at my own time. You can come and eat at your own time. You have your key, I have my key. You can come home the time you want. I can come home the time I want. I can leave home the time I want. You can leave home at the time. We are married, but we are living two different lives. No. You got to rely on each other. You got to live together everyone will achieve more. You want to go far with your marriage, remain together. Don't run too fast. You might leave the other one behind. Learn to carry the other one with you. If your husband, you are moving faster, carry your wife along with you. And if the wife is moving faster, carry your husband with you. But don't allow the distance between the two of you to become too wide, too big. Learn to be reliant on one another. My friend, the robbers of marriage is learning to redeem. You know, we say redeem bonga point. Redeem the relationship that is called marriage. Once in a while, remind each other of the honeymoon. Take time off from the family. Take time off from the children. Take time off from work. Be the two of you alone. No matter how old you are, no matter how long that marriage is, you can still create special moments only for the two of you. Dear brother and sister, a marriage robber is when you start losing interest in that marriage. When you start losing interest in one another. When you start losing interest staying together. The robber of marriage is when you don't aspire for the greatness in that relationship. You don't want to make it greater. That means your attitude starts changing. And they say it is your attitude plus your aptitude that will take you to the altitude. You go as far as you think. Where do you want to take this marriage to? How great, how big, how special, yeah? How sweeter do you want to make it? Remember, don't gamble. Don't gamble with your relationship. It is not a matter of trial and error. That's robbing yourself happiness. Make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Make sure you know what to do to make each other happy. Study each other's interest, appetite, and things that are good for you, the two of you. Study. Don't gamble with this relationship. This relationship is too special for people to gamble about it. And finally, the E of robbers of happy marriage, it is when you stop encouraging one another when either of you is down with, with negative emotion. When you see your husband struggling, is worried to death that maybe he will not be able to pay school fees, maybe he will not be able to pay the rent, and you say, instead of telling him it's gonna be all right, it's gonna be okay, it will not make a difference. When you see your wife, she is maybe suffering from an illness, she's sick, and you don't tell her, don't worry, I am here for you, this is gonna go. Encouragement. Yes, we can live together no matter the circumstances. Yes, we will live together no matter the circumstances. Yes, I will always be there for you. That encouragement is very, very important. Remember, our marriages must be like rivers. You can never step on the water of a river twice because it keeps moving. And then a river can never stop flowing because of any obstacle. It will find a way through any obstacle. But ultimately, the river will find its sea. And our marriages must find the sea no matter the circumstances. Wabillahi tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Leo ilitoka kwa full. Naomba remove mic. Dogo.
Naam.
Wapenzi wasikilizaji, kama kuna mtu angependa kuchangia kwa maoni yoyote, kama mtu ana swali, this is the forum for you to ask a question or what you suggest. You can raise a hand and be given a chance to talk. And you can send a message. Kama kuna mtu anafanya lolote ama ana mpendekezo wowote, unaweza kunyosha mkono, tutakuwa na fursa ya kuongea.
Swali lolote inshallah, any comment, suggestion?
We have a comment.
Yes, please.
Brother Juma Mtenju. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Mujahid, you talked about maturity in marriage. So how can couple mature spiritually in marriage? How can couple mature spiritually in marriage?
Very, very good. Okay. It is very important for people to mature, particularly spiritually. And the best way to do that is to have a schedule that the two of you will once in a while pray together. The two of you will once in a while recite Quran together. The two of you will once in a while pray for each other loudly so that the husband can hear what the wife is praying for and the wife can hear what the husband is praying for. The two of you can enroll for a spiritual class, maybe to study Tawheed together, maybe to study Quran together, maybe to study Tajweed together. The two of you can share personal spiritual experiences of life that you've had. The two of you can offer to teach each other an area that you're more conversant than the other. The two of you can follow a common sheikh on an area of interest. Maybe a sheikh who is teaching a hadith online on YouTube. You follow that sheikh together and then sit to comment on what you understood from what the sheikh, shared. The two of you can opt to spend the last part of the night together, praying tahajjud together. The two of you, if you can afford, can go for umrah together or can go for hajj together. The two of you can save together and use that money for a spiritual cause, to support a charity, to support a student in an institution, the needy and the orphans. So there are many ways that a couple could help each other grow, acquire maturity spiritually.
Wonderful response. Shukran sana. Brother Juma Mtenju namshukuru amesema kwa khair.
Barakallah fi.
We have another comment. Brother Hussein Sharif. Assalamu alaikum. Mimi hizi link kwa kipati kila wiki. Like the last time nilipata link ilikuwa early December. So sijui. Shukran.
Barakallah fi.
Brother Hussein. Kuna Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page, hizo wanaita X, TikTok by the name New Horizon Consultant Service. New Horizon Consultant Service. Watu na post hizi kama.
Yes, please.
Tupa jina katika comment section. Unaweza kufollow hizi pages. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter na TikTok.
Naam.
Sister Hajra Salim.
Naam.
Sister Hajra. Mkiriam. Je, kuna yoyote ambaye ana swali ama kuchangia?
Okay, Doctor.
Naam. Walaikum
I got a
salam.
question.
Naam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I'm asking, what if, let's say, you just got married,
Yes.
but you got minimal time to be with your wife? Let's say you are working in a company
Yes.
and we're giving you just around a week, 2 weeks to be with your wife. And then, let's say your company or your job is far away from your wife.
Yeah.
And that affects your marriage?
No, not really. Particularly is there is no much stress in the modern world when we talk about connecting with one another. It was more difficult in the past, but for now you just have to agree on how you could communicate with one another. But again, remember, it's also good to negotiate for regular time that you'll be allowed to meet your wife, particularly if you are newly married. Sometimes you might not be together physically, but you are there for each other in terms of emotions, in terms of social interactions, and in terms of connection and talking with one another. It is really not that big problem. It could be a problem if now you decide, because you're away, you will not keep up with your communication because you are now away from each other. You won't be that affectionate. You are away from each other, therefore you won't show that care. That will create a problem. But if that necessity is understood between the two of you, and it is acceptable between the two of you, and then you find an alternative way of, you know, having that spiritual, social, and emotional connection, I don't think that will create any problem. There is a book that's very interesting, that which I have read, is that how can you maintain a distance love so that it becomes sometimes more sweeter than the physical love of being together every other day.
Thank you. Welcome, Brother Hassan. Now you are satisfied with the response. Someone else has raised the hand.
Yeah.
Farhim. Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm using my wife phone. So my question, what is a good family or a family kazi bibi na muda mwingi nyumbani wote?
I can get you properly. I think there is an interference on the channel, kind of. But if I heard you correct, is if the both of you are working and therefore you come back home when you're both tired, then what really happens? Believe me, if you are strongly connected to each other, even when you're working, there is that special energy, there is that vibe, there is that zeal that comes the moment you see each other. If there is that genuinity in that relationship, the moment the wife comes home and believes by preparing a meal for my husband that will make us more connected, that wife will never allow anybody else to make that meal for the husband except herself. The husband will never be tired for that wife. The day when the chemistry is no longer stronger in the two of you, and then you start using the excuse of work, then definitely there is something wrong in that relationship. But a relationship that has a strong chemistry, no matter how busy your day was, when you come home, you get freshened, you get rejuvenated, you get awakened, and it's like the two of you were not working the whole day. And this is something that is documented, that the only thing that could revive the energy of a man or a woman is the desire, is the love, is the connection the two of them share. In fact, that becomes the drug that takes away all the fatigue. You know, when your wife is working or your husband is working, and then you take a whole day without, calling each other, calling one another to find how the day is progressing, then there's a problem somewhere there. But if maybe you call each other twice a day, thrice a day to see how you're doing, that connection still is there. Before, people never used to work because things were easier. Life was much cheaper. But these days, many people work, particularly women, not because they want to work, but because they want, majority of them want to support their husband, want to support the family. And therefore, that connection makes them move on with life without much problem. It becomes problematic, though, if there are more primary responsibility that are going wrong. Like, for example, the children. Now the wife is working and the husband is working, and the children are left with the nun, with the maid. And then they start, getting, misguided, misdirected, and then people have to sit down to prioritize what is good for the family. Is it the money? Is it the work? Or supporting our children to become great men and women in the future? So that depends on how the husband and the wife will negotiate, putting into consideration the well-being of the family. I've seen wives saying, I will stop working until my babies grow. So they start going to the kindergarten. Okay, so the husband has to work to support like that, and therefore that responsibility is shared. But this depends on circumstances and the agreement between the husband and the wife.
Thank you very much. The comments here,
Nam.
What is your advice on involving elders when the couple have disparity? Because sometimes people assume that, or it is highly assumed that there is a risk of losing the marriage when you involve other people.
Yeah, the experience many people have gone through is the moment you involve a third party in your marriage, then in most cases you are inviting disaster. Marriage is about two people, and those two people must learn to resolve their conflicts as two of them. It must be the last resort for a couple to involve the elders, to involve a third party. But always try the much you can to resolve the difference between the two of you, just two of you. But if you involve anyone in between your conflict, the chances of that conflict being exaggerated is very high. Of course, it is an advice, and it is an ayah from the Quran that, the two sides, from the husband and the wife, can sit down to resolve that marriage. But most cases, when it reaches that level, it becomes difficult to fix that marriage. And in life, in marriage, you don't wait until you reach that level. You must learn to take action quickly when you discover there is a misunderstanding or there is a conflict in your relationship. Naam, Said.
Thank you very much. Brother Hussein Sharif ameuliza kama anaweza kupata a copy of the book.
Okay. Maybe you can call me, inbox me, and then I'll see if I have a soft copy. I will send you.
And the last comment from Brother Muhammad Tribe. MashaAllah, Barakallah, Tribe, and all those who make this nation success.
MashaAllah.
May the Almighty Allah reward you abundantly.
All of us, inshallah. May Allah reward all of us, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for all of us.
I think we are past time.
Yeah, we passed time now, alhamdulillah.
So you can close for a few.
One of the participants can close with a dua. Maybe Hussein Sharif.
Assalamu alaikum. In a scenario where the marriage is robbed with almost everything, information, is it wise to stick to the marriage in the name of the sake of the children?
I can get that very well.
When the marriage is robbed of everything you have mentioned, is it wise to stick to the marriage for the sake of the children?
Oh yes, not just children, even for the sake of saving that. You know, marriage is a sacred institution. And therefore, you have to do everything possible to keep and respect that institution. The desire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that institution to be protected. It should not be allowed to collapse. And most of the time, if you sacrifice your personal interest for the interest of the children, because it is not good, by the way, to make your children motherless when you are still alive. And it is not advisable to make your children fatherless when the father is still alive. Because in most cases, when divorce occurs, the children pay the heavier price. So we don't just get married because we love each other. Love is important. But we also get married because it is a religious, it is a social, it is a divine institution that we need to protect. But then we shouldn't just stay there comfortably and say love is not here so that we can just live because of that other reason. We must also work out so that ultimately we resolve our feelings and we revive the love we have for each other. I've seen people who at one point they lost connection, but because they didn't rush into a divorce, finally they even loved each other more than they were loving each other before the conflict started. So have patience, and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? And you know, when you show that respect for that institution, Allah will open up ways for you. Allah will make it easy for you. Allah will bless that relationship, and ultimately you will be proud that you did not rush to ask for divorce or get into divorce because there was no affection anymore in that relationship.
Yes, can we have a participant? Any volunteer ambaye atakuingia Ndoa tafadhali? Yoyote ambaye atajitolea kutufungia Ndoa. Basi kama bismillah. Thanks, alhamdulillah.
Inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Muhammad is praying. Naam.
Muhammad alikuwa akiendelea.
Naam.
Ustaz. Tafadhali.
Muhammad.
Wachana ni pakazia.
Naam. Naam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين.
آمين.
اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة
آمين.
وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
آمين.
اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا
آمين.
وأصلح ذات بيننا
آمين.
بنا سبل السلام جنبنا الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن اللهم سهل لنا من كل خير ما نريد ونجنا من كل شر ما نخاف بفضلك يا لطيف يا لطيف رزقنا في قدرك المقادير وهون علينا كل عسير انك على ما تشاء قدير ونعم المولى يا نعم النصير سبحانك ربنا واليك المصير وصل اللهم على خير خلقنا نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بفضل سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
شكرا يا شيخ.
جزاك الله خيرا محمد. Sana.
Adik.